Hey guys, Token Vaping, how's it going? So today's review is actually a nice product placement review. As you all know, I'm not a huge fan of tanks. I use more of the RDAs, RDTAs, and I've started getting into squonking a little bit. So I've kind of shied away from the tank game for a while. And I know this one has been on the market for a bit, but you know, just trying different things and wanting to experiment a bit more and just trying to find, you know, what's cool, what's not. I thought I'd give this a look in itself and give a little throwback to it. Like I said, it has been out for a little bit and kind of let all the hype and everything die down from this, but it is the Crown 3 from UWELL. And this one I'm just using for example display setup. This is their rainbow finish one. I just purchased mine from Hydra in Oceanside. They do offer this in the rainbow, in the black, which is the one that I got, blue, and a silver stainless look. And this is basically the tank itself. It has a very aesthetically pleasing look to it. It is pretty basic in the setup as compared to the way that most tanks are. And it does come with two coils. When you do purchase upon it, it's going to have one that is a 0.5, which is going to be rated for 70 to 80 watts, and that's the one that I have steeping right now in my tank. It's soaking up juice, so I can show you the cloud on it. And then the other one is a 0.25, which is rated for 80 to 90. So they're not meant to be super huge heavy hitters. I do know that they have made a couple other coils for it that can be used for higher wattages for those that do go above that. But those are the two that are offered right out of the box. It also does come with a spare glass, which they advertise as a quartz glass, so it has a little bit more durability to it. So you do get the one that's on the tank, and then you get a spare one for backup. One of the coils is already installed in the tank, and that I will show you because they do have a new system set up for this tank, specifically when it came out. They also do provide you with extra O-rings and seals, as they do in here. It does come with a little Crown 3 Royal key, and I'll explain that here in a second. And then it comes with their instruction manual, as pretty much standard with all products. It says right there. And then this one here is the warning label card that comes with. So they try to provide everything they need. Oh, and also it does come with a cap cover, which if you've never seen one or used one, it basically is a plastic silicone cap that goes over the drip tip, which is this one. It happens to be a nice Widebore one for those that like more flowy airflow. And then it has it just attaches to the glass or the tank itself by a ring, and then you can cover it when you're not using it, and that's basically to prevent foreign particles, dust, things like that in there. So basically the tank itself, I'm just going to go ahead and show you. The coil itself, the bottom unscrews, and the coil itself is what they call a plug and pull. So as you see right here, it is attached in there, and all you really literally do is just pull the coil out. There's no screws to it. There's no threading, anything like that. It just literally slides into the channel. And it's in, and then you screw the bottom in. It's pretty simple. It makes it a lot easier to deal with and things like that. And then the key that I was showing you, the cloud key right here, the crown key, the crown key. If you notice, the ending of it has little divot tips like that. The reason for that is basically when you go to disassemble this tank, you pull the drip tip out. On the inside here, you will see, if I can get the focus in there for you, but you will see little divots right on the inside in there. And that is how you unscrew that. You use the key you put there. Now they did this in a reverse threading, so it's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey with this. It's a righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. And you basically pop that screw out, and then you can take this apart so you can clean the inside and change the glass if you need to, things like that. Now to fill this, it's just basically the top spins. It's a one full rotation, and then you have your fill port. Now I do know nowadays everybody's tanks, the newer styles and things like that, they do have like a flip open, a slide open, things of that nature, so that this in essence for the newer styles that are coming out does seem a little outdated. But I do know people that still do use this tank regularly, that still swear by it and say that isn't a problem. And I think it's mainly because it doesn't take a whole lot to unscrew off. It's literally one full rotation and it pops off. You fill it, pop it back on, you're good to go. It's not something that you feel like you're sitting there for a couple of minutes, you know, unscrewing it and then having to take it off and then trying to rethread it back on and everything else like that. So basically, in a nutshell, that is the Crown 3 tank from UWELL. It is a 24.5 millimeter wide tank, so it basically is classified as a 25. It does come with the two coils that I already informed you about. It is a 5 mil tank capacity for that, and it basically is they list it as an anti-leak threaded top fill method. So basically, because of the way that the lid is, and it has the tiny little lip over on here, that it seals tight enough that it does not leak. Now, if you leave this obviously upside down or something like that with juice in it, I'm sure it probably would start to leak or collect up a bit, which would make it a mess when you go to take the cap off. So with any tank, you really don't want to do that anyway. And then it does have 3 air holes on the bottom so that you can get quite an adjustment style out of the airflow. It does have a 510 pin connection right in there, which does actually protrude out quite a bit. If I can get that to focus there. Sorry that it's not. Like right in there, so it does protrude quite a bit, so it does make the connection a lot nicer and more secure. And that's about it. Like I said, I have had this one basically sitting the coil on this saturating for about 5-6 minutes, so that I could show the vapor production on this. This is the black one, and it does have the red band, and that's usually the color combination that I try to go with. Now, one thing I did notice about this tank, as opposed to some of the, some of the newer ones here, even though it is a 5 mil, because of the base of it, it does tend to sit up a bit higher than a lot of other tanks. As you can tell on this device here, it does actually look like it sticks up quite a bit. For some people, that might bother them as far as like if you're going for like the aesthetics looks of this. But realistically, depending on the mod you're using, I mean, if you're using it on a single battery, or like some of the shorter type mods, it might look a little off. But in general, you know, as far as tanks go, it's really not uncommon as opposed to other style tanks. I have seen some other ones that, do sit about the same style in that sense. I think it just depends on the device that you have it on, as opposed to whether or not it's going to look, the norm or not. I mean, there are some that are twice as wide and may not be as tall, or one that might be a little bit taller but it might be a little bit skinnier. So. But in general, that is the Crown 3 from UWELL. I didn't have the opportunity to try the previous Crown, the Crown 2. I did hear a lot of downsides to that tank, as opposed to what people didn't like about it and why it wasn't a good fit for them. But a lot of people have since tried the Crown 3 and said that it seems like UWELL had taken all that in consideration and have improved on all of that to make this a much better tank. So if that is the case, then that is an awesome thing for a company to do, and it shows that they are paying attention to the community and the public and their customers. And you can always check out the website at myuwell.com, and it has all that listed. Or if you're in the Oceanside area, stop by Hydra. Like I said, they do carry this tank now, and it is available in 4 different colors. So like I said, I have had this sit out for a bit, and it has been soaking up. And I am using Luxor from the Monolith line of Hydra, and I also did a review on this flavor as well. So this one is rated from 70 to 80. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll start it at 70, just because I don't want to do a quick burn on it too bad, but I will start it at 70 just to get a hit on this so you can see it. Now, I do like my airflows wide open. There are 3 on here, so you can adjust it and accommodate it to your vaping preferences as is needed. I always like having a full open airflow and having a more airy pull on this. Okay, for what it is, you definitely hear the airflow. It's not a whine whistle, but you definitely do hear it as it funnels the air through. Cloud production, as you saw, is pretty nice. Flavor is pretty solid. I have been vaping this in a different style RDTA, so I do know the flavor on it pretty well. And it is pretty on point. I'm not getting much of a cotton taste to it as far as from the coil. and so that's a good plus. The draw on it does seem a little bit tighter than some other tanks that I have been using, but it definitely does work for this style. Okay, so obviously when you go higher in the wattage, it's definitely going to produce more flavor because it is heating up more, so it's going to heat up more juice. That in that particular pull, I did start to feel a little bit back on the throat. It may be because it's a new coil, but it definitely is nothing harsh or anything to complain about or give a negative feel of the tank. But it definitely does have a nicer draw to it, as opposed to at the 70 watts where it did seem a bit tighter, but I think it's also because it is getting a bit warmer. Definitely nice cloud production. You know, the tank still seems kind of decent. It doesn't feel like it's heating up super fast right away, so that's always a plus. So I'm going to take this up to 80, which is what this coil is rated to max out at. Obviously, there are some people that may actually have gone a bit above that and it's worked for them. I tend to try to stay within that range as opposed to what the company states, because since they make the product, that's what they feel it works best at. So I always try to play it safely in that sense. So at 80 watts, okay, so I can definitely see at 80 watts, this is probably where I'm going to keep this tank at. Flavor has popped really nicely on this. It does have a nice subtle warmness to it from heating up, but it's not too hot. It doesn't feel like it's going to burn your lips. Tank still doesn't feel like it's getting super warm right away. Cloud production is pretty solid. I mean, as if you saw, that's basically would be classified as more of a billowy type cloud. And again, you know, you get a slight throat hit, but that may also be a little bit because I took a slower hit than some other people who take faster draws when they vape. But it also depends on the length of the draw that you take. If you take a much longer draw, then it's depending on how long the coil can hold up for that hit. If you take a shorter draw, you still get a nice cloud production off of that. The flavor pops really nicely, but you don't feel it as much in the throat. So a lot of it really just comes down to adjustment and accommodation as your style and your choice in how you vape. But I can definitely see why this was touted as the better of the Crown tanks. This is the Crown 3 from UWELL, and it definitely is a nice introduction into the tank line from them for myself, as this is the first tank from them that second tank, and I will be doing an actual comparison video because I did get another tank from them, but this is the first in the Crown series that I have tried. So being the introduction tank, it definitely is nice. It's definitely a nice cloud production off of that. So if you've already got your own set of tanks already running, and you got multiple tanks and you already know what it is you like and what you don't like, you know, it's nothing more than it might just be a spare or a backup tank in case that you want it. If you are looking to get a tank that is pretty solid, that is dependable, that is going to hold up, and that is something that you can use on a regular daily basis, definitely give it a try. Like I said, if you're in the Oceanside area, check out the Hydro Vape Shop. You can order it online at their website as well. As always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video and taking what I say into consideration for your next vaping purchase. I appreciate all of you. Always truly love yourself. Vape on, vape strong. Have a good one, guys.